Hey guys, if you want our help in setting up a personalized meal plan or a personalized training program, or both, we can actually do that online for you on our platform and get that done through website, Robin.
Yep. So jump on www.lntonline.co.nz, sign up. We'll have the questionnaire, fill that out. We'll take care of the rest.
Awesome.
Are you trying to make this a challenge? Holy hecker. So far everything is working.
Everything's going well.
What a team.
Oh, man. We're away.
Good. Back is good.
How was your
Mic is
back?
good.
It's a bit shaky. Sorry.
Yep. Okay.
I don't like having to reach out for my tea all the time.
I'm going to have to. Are you going to hold it?
Should I? I think it feels... I'm feeling comfortable here. Do you want to hold it for a bit? For at least a bit?
I'll let mine cool down.
Okay.
I've got a gentle mouth.
Okay.
All right. Let's do this, man.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Welcome to the LNT podcast. It's a lifestyle where we talk about science, health, and everything in between. Okay, trying to provide the masses with some knowledge about everything in between, basically.
Just trying to make you healthier.
That's the one. That's it.
Live for good quality long years. That's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Exactly.
Be functional up until you're about 105. And you can decide what you want to do from there on out. But what do you want to discuss today?
Today,
what are you keen to do?
I thought since we had a little bit of a break last week, we were up in the Coromandel where we were the good times, reminiscing of the good times. But basically, shout out to Rob, took us to his holiday home, and we were able to swim an average of 3 times a day.
It was fantastic. So we went to Opito Bay and Otama Bay. So those that are living in the north, upper North Island, I guess, close to the Coromandel side, if you can get there, well worth it. Absolutely stunning.
Beautiful, yeah, especially now that our real summer's kicked in. It's right on daylight savings, but it's arrived. But we will be talking about swimming today on our 10th podcast. This is podcast number 10 for us. So for everyone who's tuned in, who's been watching us, or we get lots of people asking us questions about the podcast in the clinic, thank you so much. And we really wouldn't be able to do it without you guys watching and giving us feedback and cheering us on. So thank you so much. Today we're going to be talking about swimming, or not necessarily swimming, but cold water or just regular water immersion, or being inside water, and what benefits there are to be had from that. Okay, and there are quite a few, both physical and mental benefits, or just cognitive benefits to our health in general. Okay, so so what do we expect them to learn from this, Robin?
Well, I guess, from what we got from that weekend is being able to go for a good swim, get our body moving first thing in the morning. I believe we went, was it just after 8?
Just before breakfast.
A little bit cold, but
yeah,
as people know, Marvin and myself, we like to get some exercise in first thing in the morning. So our basic option was I think we did press-ups on the deck to get a chest pump, and then we went for our morning swim, and I guess for us, that's a good form of exercise, which obviously has benefits.
Yeah, and that sort of motivated us, because we're like, man, I know during the holiday, everything you loosen up and you feel a lot better. And we were wondering, wonder how much of this is to do with the water, and how often we're swimming or being close to water, close to the ocean. So we will be covering, initially we'll be talking about the benefits of swimming in as a form of exercise, because it is exercise. If you are swimming or you're in the water, you're moving, you're staying active, it's a form of exercise. So we'll be talking about the benefits there. And from there, we're going to talk about the benefits of cold water exposure or cold water immersion, whether it is in the ocean now where the weather's turning a little bit colder. So exposing yourself to the water in the ocean at these times or a little bit later on, or benefits of swimming in cold water. And then we'll be moving into the opposite, warm water exposure, whether you're in a spa or in a warm bath, and the benefits of that there are to be had. And also we'll flick on and talk about other psychological benefits to be had from swimming or being in water in general. And at the end, we'll finish off with specifically looking at the benefits of seawater or saltwater swimming or immersion. Okay, so quite a bit to cover today, but hopefully you'll gather quite a bit from it, and maybe it might motivate you to jump in the water a little bit more often this year or for the rest of the year.
Yeah, like you said, starting off with about the benefits of training, basically in the water, and I guess we could talk about full body workouts.
Absolutely.
Because when you and I were doing, we raced Rob, right, in our freestyle event. And if we're thinking
Shout out,
about
Rob.
the mechanism, and Marvin and I, it was basically us versus him, and we both lost as a team, as a unit. But even thinking about when Marvin and I were doing freestyle, as an example, our both upper body was moving, our limbs, legs were moving, our back has to work. So, every muscular system is working just with a simple freestyle.
Absolutely. So every so many different muscles in your body are getting active and getting a movement and getting a workout, which is quite a huge benefit. If you compare it, you could argue that specifically some particular swim styles, if you look at the butterfly per 10 minutes of exercise, the butterfly swimming style burns more calories than running in general. Okay. So a freestyle is somewhat similar, and breaststroke. I think backstroke is slightly more than breaststroke in terms of calories burnt, because you're using so many different muscle groups. Everything's getting active. Everything's getting a workout. So great benefits to be had on that.
Have you tried butterfly?
I cannot. It's so difficult, and I don't know why it is that. And I think it's a multiple reasons. One of them is because I've hardly done it before in my life, and second of all is trying to get a rhythm. We'll talk about breathing rhythm in a bit, but I think
it's such a powerful technique.
It's incredible, and it takes so much energy away, which you can imagine why it's you're burning a lot more calories doing the butterfly than going for a run. Yeah.
Talk about the full, like it being a full body movement, like swimming as a whole. So for those young male athletes like Marvin and myself, if you actually want to produce more lower limb power as well, they've actually done research looking at how we can use aquarobics to enhance your vertical and horizontal output. So may have a good crossover. So to help you with your other sports as well. So just an example, they did one variation part of the program was jumping knee tucks in water. And it was just above belly button height.
Yeah.
So basically it's jumping, bring your knees in towards your chest, extend back out again, and doing various sets and reps. So that's something to consider as well. They did it with males, so I'm not too sure about the female population, but that's something to consider as as part of your training as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It can definitely fit into that schedule or your training program throughout the week. The other thing is flexibility as well. There's quite a bit of research done on improved flexibility, and across the board, you look at swimming because it is so free flow, and you're imagining with thoracic rotation involved, your complete shoulder mobility and everything else in between. You've got also some studies done on elderly women or elderly population, seeing the effectiveness of mobility in the lower back and the hips, and seeing improvements there as well. So, great way. I guess it's the nature of it and being free flowing in the water is so helpful for relaxing and making. No pun intended, but making your joints more fluid-like. Really is, yeah.
Also, in addition, I guess for you office folk that may be sitting at the work computer for long periods. If we're looking at posture, swimming can help promote better like postural muscles. So in terms of the small intrinsic ones that keep you upright, keep your head back, proud chest. So swimming can help contribute to that positively as well. So that's something to consider if you want to alter your posture. So if you've been to like, someone like me and Marvin, physio, other healthcare professionals, like you need to work on your posture.
Absolutely.
So yeah, make sure your swimming could be part of your rehab component on that aspect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just taking, for example, freestyle or breaststroke, for example, and you look at the motion the body is making in the water, and you look at the rehabilitation exercises that Robin, you and I give, a lot of it is, that 30-degree activation of lower trap fibers, postural muscles, keeping them active. And with swimming, you're working on strength and endurance, which is perfect for posture, because what's important about posture is the muscles can be able to withstand your body for a prolonged amount of time, especially when if you've got an office job. So lower trap fibers, your rhomboids, as well as the bigger erector spinae muscles. I know I'm just saying words here for some of you, but longissimus and iliocostalis, those long muscles that extend from the small of your back all the way up. These ones are constantly active when you're swimming because it's trying to keep you upright, nice and afloat, and keeping that proud chest posture. So huge improvements, and that's why you see these Olympic swimmers, standing in the podium with their posture. This is broad shoulders, chests, exposed to the world. So it's very, 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 very effective for posture.
Yeah, that's good for people. Low impact is a form of low impact exercise as well.
Yeah.
So, me and Marvin work with a lot of people with chronic conditions like osteoarthritis or fibromyalgia, which is a pain condition. But because you're not actually placing any joint stress when you're swimming as such, it's a good low impact that you can do safely and effectively. And you can actually increase your exercise output or intensity with swimming and reassuring that it's not going to compromise your joint health. So that's another good benefit
Absolutely,
to swimming.
and that's fantastic. And we were speaking about rehabilitation. We can come back to sports rehab or post-surgical rehab. If you've got a total knee joint reconstruction, or if you've got an ACL reconstruction or shoulder or any sort of that, because it's the low impact nature of swimming, you're able to get in there and start exercising a lot earlier and get the body moving in a safe, controlled manner. So it's a huge win in that department. And it's, I guess swimming, you can actually say from cradle, it's one of the only sports or activities that you can literally do from cradle till grave. If you ask me to play football when I'm 85, it's going to be difficult. But if you told me to swim, I might be more inclined to say yes, because it's such a safe nature. It's easy on the joints, which, as we mentioned, improves full body workout, improving flexibility. So, it's an easy yes for me when I'm 85.
And football.
And
do both.
And football, yeah.
Do both.
As long as you stay active.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
and for
absolutely.
the mums out there, or the mums to be.
Yeah.
This is another safe form of exercise.
Yeah.
I know aqua jogging is
Yeah.
popular if you're pregnant, and it's a good way to make sure that you're keeping yourself healthy, including heart health, etc., joints, muscles. It's nice and easy on the body, but also keep in mind, also consult an actual healthcare practitioner.
Always.
If you are pregnant, before you were to do any form of aqua jogging or swimming, just make sure everything is checked and you're safe.
Absolutely. And the same goes with rehabilitation or anything like that. There are specific movements or specific injuries that, particular, like a breaststroke might not be so suitable for early stage MCL sprain or something like that, But overall, it's a fairly safe thing to be in the water and doing activities. It's funny. I remember doing back in my health sciences degree, we did a survey on, I was doing a little bit of work for Arthritis New Zealand, and majority of survey was over a population of over 65s, and majority choice of exercise in groups or by themselves was swimming. And they found that for my fibromyalgia as well as osteoarthritis was super useful for pain relief, which we'll discuss later on. But generally keeping fit and healthy, and it's a very social event as well to do with friends and family.
Yep.
So that was really good.
Yep. Cardiovascular health.
Yeah,
Well,
huge.
I know what happened for Marvin and myself, going back to the Bay story. So what we had to do was I would have to go a certain distance as far as I can, freestyle, holding my breath, and then Marvin would go from where I finished, and then Rob had to beat us one single
Both.
distance, right? I tell you what, when I did both my freestyle and then I was gasping for air, and then Marvin as well, we could both feel our heart elevated, which is obviously a good indication that we're working our heart and good for cardiovascular health. And they've also done research, heaps of different populations, but going back to majority elderly people over 12-week cycles, and looking that you can have quite a big improvement in cardiovascular output, and then a decrease in your heart rate and blood pressure as well. So something to consider as well, just for your general health and cardiovascular health, swimming once again.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like any exercise, there is evidence of reduced blood pressure, improved cardiovascular health. But to add on top of that, with swimming, you've got an inclination to an improvement of lung capacity as well, which is so useful. You get that with other sports, but because with swimming, your breathing control, sometimes your breathing, people have abnormal breathing patterns. With swimming, you can't afford to do that because there's only certain specific times when you can breathe, and that's when you're above the water. So it teaches you and it prompts you to have a regular or controlled breathing rhythm, and which is so useful for being able to go better for longer, but also useful for swimming.
I know you said better for longer. I'm just making sure we're talking about swimming. But it's all blood flow.
Also,
so,
yeah.
So
I was going to say it depends what you mean by swimming. We can't be serious for 10 minutes. It's just...
So improved lung capacity.
But improved lung capacity, I think also training, the fact that you're holding your breath for periods of time, unlike other exercises, there is a tendency of promoting or making your body to adapt and make the most out of gaseous exchange, or oxygen and carbon dioxide out. When you're going for a run, your breathing pattern or your breathing rates per minute could be higher. With swimming, because you're forced to control your breathing a little bit more, your breathing rate could be set a little bit lower, which promotes better, more effective gaseous exchange, which could open up and improve lung capacity as well. Yeah,
make it easy to walk to the letterbox and back.
exactly. And absolutely, it gives you, with people with respiratory conditions, there is a little bit of research about asthma, and especially children with asthma, and swimming programs being beneficial. And with any sort of exercise, it is going to help, but it saw reduced rates of bronchospasms and things like that with asthma and children with asthma. There was a little bit of contraindications with if you're swimming in the pool, and the chlorine might be counterintuitive and doing the opposite. But generally, swimming is helpful for respiratory conditions like asthma.
And also, if you're getting cut, if you're going for the shred factor, well, not in New Zealand at the moment, obviously it's a little bit cooler, but in terms of burning up calories, obviously increasing your output via swimming. A cool study. So I like to look into, obviously, female populations because I've got 2 daughters, so I want to keep their health in mind all the time. And for young ladies, adolescents and pre-adolescents, that swimming showed that there was a decrease in intrahepatic lipids, which is a fancy name just saying you had a decrease in fat in your liver, which obviously has a lot of positive benefits for the rest of the endocrine system, like kidneys, gallbladder, and actually burning and processing fats and sugars. And just from swimming, that was just a 12-week cycle, and the intensity was only set at 60%, so not overly high. So that's another benefit that, to get these health benefits that we're talking about, you don't need to be absolutely exhausted, and this is in particular for young adolescent females.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we mentioned, it is a full body workout. So you're obviously going to be burning quite a bit of calories, and like we mentioned, particular styles of swimming, you're going to be burning even more than running itself. We will talk in a bit about a particular process called thermogenesis, and why you could actually be burning even more than the exercise itself, depending on how cold the water is. You could be activating thermogenesis, which is basically a process of using calories or burning calories to produce body heat or increase body heat to try keep you warm. Which is I guess moving on to the
Well,
topic
that's what
of
happened
cold.
to us, right?
Exactly.
At the beach, me and Marvin, we found a little bit nippy.
Yeah.
But that day, well, that day, before we get into the facts of things, we ate so much food. So we went for 3 swims. So the earliest one was at 8, then went for another one around 12, and then another one actually quite late in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And us three, me, myself, Marvin, and Rob, we ate a lot of food. So in particular, that's an indication that our body was trying to generate heat, keep us warm.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we didn't have towels either. So once we hopped out of the water, we just let the natural processes of air dry us. And that's continuous cold exposure, I guess. You can see that. But that specifically targets a specific cell called brown fat cells in our bodies. And brown fat cells promote or increase the rate of thermogenesis. So this process occurs where we're starting to burn so much more calories because the body's kind of in a defense mechanism, like, whoa, we've got to try get this person warm again. So that in hand is going to burn extra calories, not just the exercise you're doing in the water, but the process of thermogenesis as well, which makes sense. We were eating. Yeah, the breakfast I had after that swim and then the dinner was absolutely huge compared to what I usually eat. So that was an anecdotal data, but there's plenty of evidence on proper literature to suggest that is the case. You are burning a lot more. Yeah, that's it. And obviously, the colder the exposure, the colder the water is. So if you are going swimming in the winter or you're in an ice bath, for example, the higher the effect. But I do recommend that if you have never done super cold exposure or an ice bath, you do graded exposure bit by bit because there is a risk of obviously hypothermia or arrhythmia and things like that with your heart ticking a little bit funny. So definitely do graded exposure and make your body a little bit, at least a little used to it before jumping into a direct ice bath from day dot. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, but definitely huge benefits to be had from cold exposure.
How did you feel? Not physically, but mentally?
Oh man,
like after
it's amazing.
How was
the
your
feeling.
mood?
Yeah, and I'm one who's done ice baths before, and every time I like to jump into the water, running and dipping straight into it. Yeah, the initial feeling is just liberating. I think that's the best way to say it. It's just such a great feeling, and there's a lot of evidence as to suggest why that is, and why you're feeling so energetic, so active, so alive.
Like the antidepressant feel almost.
Exactly. And it's activating a lot of catecholamines, which is like your norepinephrine, like your endorphin beta, all those hormones that increase mood. They have been shown, I'm not saying it cures depression or anxiety, but has been shown to reduce stress, reduce symptoms of depression, reduce symptoms of anxiety as well. And so there is a hormonal process and a neurotransmitter process occurring that is causing that. So definitely it is a feel-good and function to it, and it's also there to improve your cognitive function.
Well, part of it, like when we went to that morning swim, right?
Yeah.
You know how we sort of, Rob was the first because he just sprinted. He's a fast fella. Yeah. But when we jumped in, you felt that sense of like a accomplishment, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I think it is.
Well, did we high five? Did we chest pump each other?
I think we high fived. Yeah, I think we high fived, but not with hands. I think Rob smacked my bottom before going into the water. But it is absolutely. It gives you the feeling of mental toughness, especially if the water is quite cold. The initial thoughts, if you're sitting in a warm home, and if I was to sit and be like, oh, would you like to jump into this cold water right now? Initially, the mind's going to say, absolutely not. That's not what I want to do. And because you do that and you go against the initial thought of the mind. It creates that toughness for you to, basically, because you overcame that, you can overcome other challenges that are coming towards you on that day or week.
It's like a demonstration to yourself to push through, right?
Exactly. And because you do that, you're able to deal with difficult situations a little bit better, and you're able to overcome stressful situations or manage stress a lot better, which again leads to that mental health.
Yeah.
Overall.
Well, the reason for me jumping it was just to reduce the inflammation on my back, really.
Exactly. And inflammation, another benefit of cold exposure. And jumping into cold water, we use it as physiotherapists so much, particular injury, acute inflammation, putting ice just to limit that. And there's so many other processes occurring there. But simply said, there is what we call vasoconstriction, where the blood vessels get a lot narrower when exposed to cold temperatures, and therefore limiting the amount of inflammatory mediators and inflammatory cytokines coming into the site. And if you're jumping in immersion, you're limiting overall bodily inflammation. So huge benefits to be had in that, and you see a lot of athletes using it as a recovery as well.
Yeah. Well, even when Wim Hof did that exposure to the ice, I can't remember the exact time, and a lot of people that are watching and listening, please comment the exact time he got, but it was, I don't know, was it 0 degrees or something in the ice bath for 90 minutes, and they showed that he could actually increase his immunity.
Absolutely. And then that's incredible, actually. They it was also there's a lot of studies with Wim Hof and other people where I think they're injecting them with a particular
a virus,
or a bacterial infection, and seeing how they
COVID.
overcome it. Yeah. And
He fought COVID.
He was
the first one to fight COVID. He got bat blood straight into it.
But they did, and scientists were baffled for a bit with that. But there's a lot of evidence with the increase of lymphocytes, leukocytes, and monocytes, which are basically white
Monocytes.
Yeah,
So many sites going
in there, but they're all types of white blood cells that help fight any foreign bodies or any pathological bacteria or viruses in your body. So there is a direct, when they're doing blood testing and doing research on that after cold exposure or continuous cold exposure for a 12-week period, for example, there is an increased level of these white blood cells in your blood, as well as reduced risk of infections as well. Which is interesting again, and I think it's to do with that, because you've got an increased risk of increased amount or concentration of white blood cells. You're able to fight those infections a lot quicker before they can wreak havoc on the body.
It's like building, building your Under Armour.
Yeah, it is. We're not sponsored by anyone, so if you're trying to get a free T-shirt.
But even you think about ocean swimmers, I find it phenomenal. So here we do a Panasonic swim series, and you think about these guys that have wicked endurance, right? So they can go from Mission Bay, out several Ks and then back again. That blows my mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think what blows my mind is how they keep... Yeah, I think obviously with practice, you get a lot better at it, but just keeping that rhythm of breathing and just constant, and staying on it and staying on that same pattern all the time, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit. I love to swim, but I can't say I'm good at it at all. So, but I do. That's why I think I admire it even more with these great swimmers out there.
Yeah.
So huge increase, and also with endurance, especially when we're talking about cold exposure, there's a process what we call mitochondrial biogenesis. Fancy word for saying an increased prevalence or increased concentration of the cell mitochondria in your skeletal muscles specifically. Mitochondria is important for oxidative phosphorylation. Another fancy word was basically creating energy or ATP for your body. Okay, so the more mitochondria you have, the more the oxygen can be utilized to create energy. Okay, which is why we do see with cold exposure there is a buildup and improvement in overall cardiorespiratory fitness on top of the exercise component as well. So Yeah, that's something unique to cold water exposure, actually,
Yeah.
which is awesome to have. So many with cold exposure, so many benefits across the board, both psychological, cognitive, and physical, of course. Yeah. What about warm water, Robin? Warm or hot water exposure? The
Man,
complete opposite.
to be honest, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I think it's the
But
most comfortable because if I asked you, like the same person sitting down here, warm in a cold day, telling them let's jump into an ice bath, as opposed to, maybe not together, but let's have a hot shower
well, I just think like,
or a bath.
it's soothing. So, to mitigate pain or pain relief can help improve sleep.
Yeah,
It can help with the cardiovascular component in addition to that as well. It can decrease. So sometimes we'll use it in the clinic. We do have a device to heat up joints to promote better, decrease stiffness in the joint as well,
Yeah.
improve better flexibility. So
yeah,
I guess it's quite similar benefits. So you can do both. You
Yeah.
can do either.
yeah,
But yeah, in terms of the pain side, being able to increase or dilate those blood vessels once again, we're actually taking more oxygen nutrients to different structures. And then in hindsight, that can actually decrease the pain signals going from those structures. So example, let's just say you have aching muscles. So that could be from ischemia, and that's just saying that there's decreased flow to the area. You cause an energy crisis on a cellular level that increases noxious pain going back up to the brain. But if let's say you're in the bath, some nice music going, some Epsom salts potentially, and then watching UFC on your phone, you are vasodilating those vessels in that area where you're getting those sort of aches, and then that's going to increase nutrients and oxygen to those areas and decrease that energy crisis, decrease that ischemia, and decrease the pain signals going back up. That's from some beautiful warm water.
absolutely. So and not only bringing in the nutrients into the area, but also clearing out any fatigue-induced aggregates or pro-inflammatory cytokines, or all the basically stuff you don't need there. That is basically waste products and everything like that. So it helps drain that out and bring nutritious, rich blood into the area.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great for recycling and promoting good, healthy blood flow.
There is one contraindication that I would say, particularly with I know we spoke with the cold water about hypothermia, but also if you have poor thermoregulation, so you've got poor sensitivity to altered changes in terms of temperature, just be careful with hot water, because obviously you can burn yourself. So that is just one thing you got to be cautious about if you were to use the hot water approach,
Yeah.
as opposed to the cold. So that's something to consider if you have some problems there.
Yeah, I would say also, depending on how hot the water is making sure you're staying hydrated and keeping not only just water, but keeping your electrolytes in as well. Because I think a lot of people don't notice when they are in hot water, or when you're in water in general, you're not you feel like you're not sweating. But specifically with hot water, you are actually excreting quite a lot of fluid and quite a lot of electrolytes. So making sure you stay hydrated. I remember
Not with whiskey on the beach, eh?
Yeah.
Not with that.
Definitely no.
No,
You got
no,
the reverse effect on that. So yeah, definitely either an electrolyte drink or water, and then or stepping out for a bit, having some water. And I remember when I was in Taupo in some natural springs last year, I was surprised at how quickly I got dehydrated. And you don't really feel it until you stand up and you walk, and you're like, man, I'm a little bit lightheaded here. But but you definitely keep hydrated if it's specifically quite hot soaking water.
Yeah. We did speak about improving circulation, and that's, I guess, more important for people that's got Raynaud's disease. So that is if you have like cold extremities, particularly it's fingers and feet. So the same blood vessels can be constricted just in those areas. So Raynaud's disease is constriction of that, and that can actually lead to colder limbs. So if you are feeling that as an example, then that's where also hot water immersion or warm water immersion, I should say, would be beneficial for promoting better circulation in those extremities as well. So improve circulation.
That's fantastic.
Through warm water.
Yeah. What about in terms of if we're looking at, we've talked about quite a few of the inflammation and physical benefits to be had. Is there anything in terms of the mental state? Is there any effect of warm water exposure?
Yeah, so it's to do with the like water immersion and the hydrostatic pressure as well. So that's basically just saying sort of, how when you're in water and you feel it all around you.
Yeah.
It's almost the whole sense of awareness, particularly when it's warm water, like a warm blanket. It's like having a safety blanket, but water, and it sends the same effect for you. That's creating like a calming sensation, like from the endocrine system. So therefore lowering the cortisol output as well. So that is one of the benefits from using warm water, and you get like a reaction as well, like a release of near like an opioid effect, where you get that heightened state of mindset and that calmness. Wow. So that happens from warm water, hydrostatic pressure.
Yes, so you're basically getting cuddled by water, and
Exactly.
who doesn't like
Exactly
who doesn't like getting cuddled?
And I know it was our lunchtime swim, and there was a state there where myself, Marvin, and Rob, we're just lying on our backs floating, and it was absolutely unbelievable. And it was really, really hot by then. So this was getting close to 1 p.m. And even for me, I personally had that sense of no worry in the world at all. And that's the warm water, that's that hydrostatic pressure around us as well. So
That's awesome.
You feel weightless. So even sitting here, Marvin and I, we got to use muscles. And I guess when you're using muscles, sometimes that can be perceived as a form of stress on our body.
Yeah.
But when you're floating there and you're immersed in water, we're very light. So I guess light in the body, light in the mind.
That's nice. I like that. You'd have to think that, like, with that, calmness and relaxation and being, I guess, light in the mind, as you mentioned, surely that has other benefits, other positive effects on life in terms of, being light in the mind will maybe possibly help you get to sleep earlier or improve your overall sleep.
Yeah. So what was really, so generally speaking, so when you have approximately now this was postmenopausal women, which I found interesting, is that because Marvin and I deal with a lot of different people coming through the clinic and that we train as well. And we go through a series of postmenopausal women struggle to sleep. So 20 minutes of having a bath in warm water, something that you can tolerate, as hot as you can tolerate, is highly beneficial as we go back through the stage of increased vasodilation, which actually brings the core temperature down, so flushing out to those peripheral limbs. So I know it seems counterproductive to heat the body up, but you're actually decreasing the core temperature, and that's what's helping promote better sleep as well. So if you do that approximately half an hour before you go to sleep, the calming effect that we just spoke about, the increased vasodilation, decreasing the core temperature, will lead to a more sustained, calm, decrease the monkey brain sleep. And this is across the population.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, a lot of people see that as a counterintuitive, like we like colder temperatures to sleep, but it's not the cold temperature that gets us asleep. It's the transition from being warm and cooling down. That sensation of the body is taken out. Okay, it's time to rest and it's time to sleep. So coming out of a hot bath, and as you're cooling down when you're in bed, that's going to promote sleepiness and getting into that stage 1 sleep a lot earlier.
Yep. The other benefit, my barber's awesome. So if I go for, like, let's just say a skin fade, and then I want them to taper in the bed and they'll cut through as well, they put, I'm not sure if your barber does as well, they put the hot towels over you. So
that's the best feeling. That's got to be.
So, how calming.
Oh my goodness.
How calming, and you feel good, right? So the reason I raise this is that the positive effects that actually has on your skin, I'm not talking about the actual towel. I'm talking about the more exposure to the hot water, as an example. So if you're sparring, etc., it actually opens up your pores. And it's called sebum, which is the part or the part of a gland that releases oil out of the skin. And when it gets trapped...
Sebum.
Yeah, sebum. Is it sebum?
I'm not sure. Yes.
Sebum? Sebum. Sebum. Sebum.
I see.
So
Interesting.
What that does is that actually excretes an oily substance from the gland. But what happens if the pores are closed as such, and that actually gets released? That's what leads to skin irritation, acne, and blackheads. The cool thing about the heat, sitting in the spa or going to Fiji, lying on a beach around some warm water, you can actually come back glowing. And it's actually because those pores open up, it can help excrete those toxins out of the body and giving you a glow as such. So very beneficial for skin as well. So thank you, Nexus Baba, for making me look so good.
So who needs all those creams and moisturizers and everything? Jump in some hot water.
No.
And get your glow on.
Eat healthy.
Get your glow on, baby.
And get a spa.
That's it. Simple as that. Amazing. It's amazing to see. And there is so much... it's really interesting to see how the body reacts to cold water and hot water. Obviously, they're two different extremes, but they meet in terms of some benefits. Like we're talking about stress relief. We're talking about even improved sleep with stress. You know, if you're getting into cold exposure, you're overcoming that, reducing stress, and then improving that sleep. Great for recycling. Sometimes with inflammation, we do contrast therapy, where it's hot and cold baths and improving that and trying to get that circulation going a little bit more. So it is really interesting to see that they are complete contrasts of one another, but a lot of benefits are the same. There's a lot of similarities in terms of the benefits.
Well, one more benefit while we're on the skin topic.
Yeah.
Because I know that there is a lot of creams and all that sort of stuff out there. And there actually isn't that good proof of, like, let's just say a collagen-based cream to restore like the elasticity of the skin. But what they have found is that if you combine actual exercise, so any form of exercise with hot water immersion therapy as an example, you can actually promote better elasticity of the skin and better collagen.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're training and you can do some form of exposure to hot water on a regular basis weekly, you will look younger.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, and there is actually quite a bit of evidence because it's specifically with cold exposure as well, but even swimming in the ocean when it's a little bit cold, continuous cold exposure throughout the body limits inflammation, and inflammation is the leading or the initial process of so many different types of cancers, heart disease, diabetes. Obesity, and everything there is starts off with some sort of inflammation. So reducing that in total, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that you will live longer. So great, great for longevity as well.
Yeah. What about additional bonuses to swimming, like, you know, the calming, relaxing that we've spoke about before with both hot and cold, and I guess swimming as a general...
or just water immersion,
right?
In general. I think, we've talked about a lot of the psychological benefits to be had from both, but there are, I think water in general, just as being immersed in that substance, and like you said, it's just so free flow, you're getting cuddled or hugged by it. It's just naturally so calming and relaxing.
Well, what about when we woke up at the batch at Rob's?
Yeah.
And we hadn't even touched the water. So we arrived there Friday night. Saturday morning, us three, we woke up in different beds.
Yeah.
And we're standing on the deck, and what did we hear?
The ocean. Exactly.
And why is that? Why is that so sexy?
Yeah. So there is so much evidence. It's that sound of the waves washing or just the movement of the water is said to be a specific frequency that we call pink noise, which is a little bit similar to white noise, which we know a lot of people use to improve sleep and get to sleep. Pink noise is even more relaxing. There's a lot of playlists out there now on Spotify or anything, searching pink noise, and you can hear what it sounds like. Sort of, it kind of sounds like waves of the ocean in the distance, or even I don't know if you've been to specific lakes and it's got pebbles right on the side, and that hissing sound as the tide pulls the water back and it scratches across the pebbles. All that is related to pink noise, and that's actually a specific undisturbed frequency that is very relaxing and calming to the mind and to the body. And this is even before you get into the water, you start feeling those feelings of relaxation. On top of that, the color blue is very relaxing, calming, and almost healing for the mind. It puts you at a place of peace.
Like your T-shirt.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So yeah.
So if you're feeling stressed, like for those people that are feeling stressed, I don't know, high job, study, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Even if it is winter time and you're not quite keen for the cold immersion in terms of like going for a swim, now know that just being beachside or going for a walk on the beach may be enough to help calm you down.
Absolutely. Or just being present in that environment. I remember when we went to the Marvin and Robin, you mentioned it's so much nicer because you said every time I wake up, I get out of home, all I see is houses, buildings, blocks, everything. Now, through evolution's very slow. It doesn't cross every 10 years. It occurs very, very slowly. So what we're used to seeing is not that. Okay, we're used to seeing nature a lot more. We're used to seeing greenery, the same as an ocean. And when you look out into the ocean, you get a feeling of openness. Okay, which is kind of it's a nice feeling that you feel. Even if you're not claustrophobic, you feel open, you feel more relaxed, and you feel safer of the environment around you. Everything's open and clear, like your heart. Hopefully. But it is, there is a little bit of evidence, and it's a lot of surveys been done and asking people why it is so nice. And a lot of it is to do with being relaxed, feeling like open and more in touch with nature. And all that has a subconscious effect on our feel good. Yeah.
Well, it has a direct implication, right? Marvin and I, we've spoken about this before about the fight or flight response, your sympathetic nervous system, or your nice, relaxed beach vibe response, which is your parasympathetic nervous system. So personally, I felt all three of us, we had that instant switch just from being within that environment.
I think so. And I think, I mean, even subconsciously, if you're seeing every time you see an open ocean, it's usually a good time. You don't see it in a bad time unless you're experiencing some natural disaster like a tsunami. Every time you do see it, as opposed to seeing buildings and stuff, sometimes that can be correlated with stress, with difficult times at work or university or whatever it might be. But when you're out in the ocean, it's usually you're on holiday. Usually you're on a good state of mind when you are there. So every time you get exposed to it, it's kind of soothing and relaxing. Yeah.
So I know you've used the term before, the triple threat of the sea swim.
Of
the sea swimmer.
I can't sing though, but thank you.
So we've got the sea swimming. So what we got our exercise in.
Yeah. And there are specific benefits to do. Is it moving on to sea swimming or saltwater swimming? I guess being exposed and being immersed in saltwater. There are specific evidence. So it is a triple threat, like you mentioned, Robin, because one, you're reaping the benefits of swimming and being immersed in the water, like we've covered throughout this podcast episode today. Secondly, you're getting exercise, so you're moving, another benefit. And thirdly, you're exposed to light, to natural light, ultraviolet light, reaping the benefits of vitamin D exposure and reaping the benefits of ultraviolet light in relation to well-being. So there's so much happening, your senses are flooded with positivity, I guess. You're being cuddled by this liquid and then you're getting beautiful sunlight exposure, even on a cloudy day, can be just as beneficial. And also you're getting your exercise in. So much to be had.
And the skin?
And the skin. We talked about the benefits of skin with warm water, but when we look at salt water specifically, now, if we're talking about the ocean, now salt water is abundant in magnesium, potassium, and calcium as well. All basically minerals that are so useful and so healthy for our skin. They can even act as almost an exfoliant as it rubs against the skin. It helps get rid of any dead skin and again, opening up our pores. And sometimes there is a little bit of evidence of actually promoting growth of new skin as well. So great for that. Secondly, it has, because of the minerals, they have antimicrobial properties. Great to kind of limit infections or any fungal growth or anything to do with that.
Man,
So
I remember that as a kid.
yeah,
Oh, so if I got a cut or a graze from school,
stings when you first.
it's like, okay, go, like, obviously try getting to a beach. And that's, we're going back quite a few years.
yeah.
But man, our great grandparents knew what to do. Just go into the water.
Yeah.
Go for a sea swim.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I think the hair. I love what it does to the hair as well. I just love my hair when I jump into the ocean so much. Not for the health benefits. I think it just gets a lot puffier and it looks a lot nicer. To the extent that I have a sea salt spray now at home. Guilty, but yeah, at least it's not that. What's the product? I hate to call you out like this, but what's the product that you applied on your hair? The pink spray today?
Oh, the fashion spray.
The pink
fashion spray.
Yeah. So
it's the trolls. It's the Poppy Trolls fashion spray.
Poppy Trolls.
It's my girls.
Yeah. So just before the podcast, Robin said, "Oh no, I haven't done my hair. Give me a second." And he went into the bathroom and got this pink spray, and he's like, I need this fashion spray just to apply on my hair, just so I can look more luscious in front of the camera. But yeah, we're going off on a tangent. But salt is good for the hair and nails as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So on that note, I'm going for a swim.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you are a keen swimmer, or if you're out there and you do it, keep on doing it. There's a lot of benefits to be had. If you're
not a keen swimmer,
yeah, try to make a habit of it. Even if it's once a week or something like that, you will feel better, both mentally and physically. You're getting your exercise in. Having a bath, if you have the luxury of having a bath at home, or having access to a spa, or even cold water exposure. But simply put, even just swimming in your local public swimming pool, or even more recommended, I'd say, considering you check the water quality. I think you can go to, here in New Zealand, you can go to swimsafe.co.nz to have a look at the water quality. But if it is good, then I do highly recommend taking a swim out in the ocean or out at sea. Just we covered some contraindications, Robin, but obviously if you are not you've never been swimming before, recommended to get classes or go on shallow waters for a bit. You're still going to reap the benefits. So there is drowning if you don't want to. We don't want anyone drowning after this podcast. Just
appropriate clothing,
L&T,
swim between the flags.
L&T told me to go go to 10 feet deep and swim with some sharks. Okay, that's not what we mean about benefits of swimming. The other thing is, as we mentioned, if it's cold exposure, do graded exposure. Reduce the risk of progressive hypothermia. And if it's super hot water, again, if you are have non-sensitive skin, I guess, just be careful with that as well and stay hydrated.
All right, team, enjoy.
Peace.
See ya.
Take it easy, and we'll be back with another episode for the L&T podcast. It's a lifestyle. Peace.
Move.